Hello, I'm the real life fake wizard. You know, lawfare is a phrase that is thrown around a lot these days, but what does that mean? Well, it's what happens when someone uses the legal system as a weapon. Yeah, in the United States, anyone can sue anyone else for any reason. They might not have a case at all. It doesn't matter. As long as they've got the money to fund their legal team, they can sue anybody. And maybe they don't even care about winning at all or collecting any kind of payout. Maybe they don't care about justice being served. If all they wanted to do was cripple someone, be it financially, reputationally, psychologically, and they had a lot of money to burn, or better yet, they had someone else's money to burn, lawsuits can easily be filed. So here's the thing most people don't understand about lawsuits. You don't have to lose a lawsuit for it to destroy you. You just have to be in one, because the second you get served, the second some corporation's legal team drops a complaint on your doorstep, the clock starts. And that clock runs on your money. Lawyer fees, filing fees, discovery, deposition, motions, responses to motions, responses to responses to motions. Every single step along the way costs money. Every week costs money. And we're not talking about $100 here. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to see a case all the way through. Some poor saps are up to $500,000 to defend themselves against something that might not even have merit. And that's the trick, huh? That's the whole game. The plaintiff doesn't need to prove you did anything wrong. They just need to make the fight expensive enough that you can't survive it. You either go broke defending yourself, or you are silenced at the price of your reputation and the ability to speak. Those are your options. That's lawfare. And as it stands, especially with the case we're about to discuss, if this CEO succeeds with their lawfare in any way, it sets a precedent that should terrify every single content creator on this platform. Today's indie game shoutout is Star of Providence, a top-down action shooter with procedurally generated elements. Explore a large abandoned facility in search of incredible power, fighting dangerous foes and gaining new weapons and upgrades as you progress. To learn more about this and hundreds of other indie games, visit our free indie game discovery network, fakeportal.com, or scan the QR code on your screen. Now back to the video. Okay, so here's the backstory. There's a game called Mind's Eye, released June 2025. It was made by a studio called Build a Rocket Boy, founded by Leslie Benzies, former president of Rockstar North and part of the team behind Grand Theft Auto. So when he left Rockstar and started his own company with the pursuit of making games comparable to GTA, people had very high expectations. What those people got was Mind's Eye, a third-person sci-fi shooter with a dead open world, repetitive gameplay, bugs everywhere, and a Metacritic score of 37 out of 100. Something went catastrophically wrong during development, and delivery of this game was just awful. Critics destroyed it, players abandoned it, refunds were issued on multiple platforms almost immediately. By every measurable metric, this game was a disaster. And at this point, the studio leadership has a choice. You could look inward, acknowledge that something went wrong in your development process, figure out what it was, and try to fix it going forward. That's what responsible studios do, by the way. Or you blame everyone else and go to war with all of your detractors, risking even more distrust from your already dwindling customer base. This studio started blaming saboteurs, and I mean almost immediately. As early as May 2025, before the game had even launched, executives were already claiming that bots, paid critics, and disgruntled former employees were running a coordinated smear campaign against them. The game wasn't even out yet, and they were already preloading excuses for why people might not like it. By October of 25, Benzies himself was publicly blaming, quote, internal and external saboteurs for the game's reception. And then in January of 26, the co-CEO Mark Gerhard held an all-hands meeting with the remaining staff, which was recorded and subsequently leaked, and things went completely sideways from there too. In this leaked meeting, Gerhard claims that a, quote, very big American company spent over 1 million euros on a smear campaign against Mind's Eye throughout 2025. He says this campaign was orchestrated through a company called Ritual Network, which is a UK-based influencer management firm. He claims they paid content creators, paid journalists, and paid insiders within Build a Rocket Boy itself to sabotage the game from within. He then says, and I want to be precise about this because these are his actual actual words, that the studio has, quote, caught the guys, and they're filing in-person criminal complaints for espionage, sabotage, and criminal interference. And then, as the cherry on top of this circus, he announces that the real names of these alleged saboteurs are going to be used as characters in an upcoming in-game spy mission. I'm no lawyer here, I'm just a fake wizard, but I'm pretty sure you can't do that, at least in America. Here we find claims of espionage, sabotage, criminal interference for making content about a video game that was reviewed quite negatively by gamers who played the game. This is an extremely slippery slope and something that all creators should be paying attention to. Now let's look at some things from other parties. Ritual Network, the company that Gerhard publicly accused of orchestrating this €1 million conspiracy, put out a statement, and their response was essentially, "We're not involved. Any suggestion that Ritual Network is connected to these allegations is incorrect." So that's a flat-out denial. And they noted that no evidence has been provided to them at all. Not that evidence would be provided to them. And right there is part of the problem for the public's point of view. It has been months since these accusations started. Months of escalation, from bots are reviewing us unfairly all the way up to we're filing criminal charges for espionage. And in all of that time, across all of these increasingly wild claims, not a single piece of public evidence has been produced. No payment records, no contracts, no screenshots, no verified connection between any content creator and any paid sabotage campaign. Just accusations that keep getting louder every month with absolutely nothing behind them. And maybe that's fine. Maybe they're trying to keep their case ironclad locked down. But if that is the case, I've worked in billion-dollar corporations in high-level positions. There are lawsuits all the time, every day, but you're not talking about it as frivolously as Build a Rocket Boy's leadership seems to be, even with the rest of the company. You're supposed to be quiet about all of this. This is something they should be staying extremely quiet about and keeping their cards covered on. Meanwhile, former developers from Build a Rocket Boy have gone on record saying the game's problems were internal. They specifically blame Benzies for micromanagement, constant last-minute design changes, and creating an environment where nobody could push back because he surrounded himself with yes men. One former lead said it would have been, quote, impossible to make a good game under those conditions. They reportedly had a dedicated category in their project management software, specifically for Benzies to submit last-minute demands. That's how frequently this guy changed direction. They needed a filing system to keep track of it all. The studio has laid off over 250 employees, and management secretly installed surveillance software on the remaining employees' computers, tracking keystrokes, taking screenshots, monitoring everything, all under the guise of hunting for insider threats. When the staff found out about this, it caused a revolt internally. Gerhard apologized for the communication around it, but not actually for doing it. He said he was sorry about how people found out, and then Benzies himself, the creative lead, the GTA guy, the entire reason this studio existed in the first place, went on temporary leave in February of 2026. That's just a few days ago now. Gerhard is running the whole studio alone as of today. So, to recap here, the creative lead, whose own team claims destroyed the game, is gone. Over 250 people lost their jobs. The company is running spyware on whoever is left. Rival Network, accused of multiple crimes, denies everything and no evidence publicly exists to support the accusations. And the CEO's answer to all of this is to threaten criminal espionage charges against content creators who made YouTube videos before the game was released. Did we get all that? That seems like a lot. Now, some of you might be saying, okay, Wizard, this guy sounds delusional. Why should I care about some random CEO losing his mind over a bad game? Because this isn't just about one CEO and one bad game. Should this continue, and should charges really be filed here, this sets a precedent that can dramatically change content creation, period. What Gerhard is doing has a name in the legal world, and what did the five fingers say to the face? SLAP, which stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. And the SLAP is different from a normal lawsuit in a really important way. A normal lawsuit is designed to win a case in court. A SLAP is designed to win just by existing. The lawsuit itself is the punishment, because even if the content creator being targeted did absolutely nothing wrong, even in the case that this case has zero merit, they still have to respond. They still have to hire a lawyer. They still have to deal with filings and depositions and court dates, and all of that costs a ton of money. It's lawfare. This is the lawfare that I explained at the beginning of this video. A content creator making YouTube videos often does not have that kind of money, okay? The CEO of a studio that raised hundreds of millions of dollars in investment capital does have that kind of money, at least what's left of it at this point. If the guy is trying to save his name, maybe the strategy is to make it look like all these other people did him wrong, and that way he's somehow absolved of any wrongdoing. It's not going to work out, good luck, but it seems like that's the strategy. But that is the strategy. You don't have to win the case. You just have to make the fight so expensive that the other people involved can't afford to participate. The process is the punishment. Guilty or innocent doesn't even matter if you're bankrupt before the verdict comes in. The mind's eye situation is dangerous. If Mark Gerhard can threaten criminal espionage charges against content creators for making videos about a game that publicly flopped, and that threat goes unchallenged, then what's stopping the next CEO from making the exact same threats or doing the exact same thing? If this plays out and you get a bad lawyer or a bad judge, and maybe justice isn't served and content creators are found liable perhaps, would that not embolden other companies to also frivolously sue creators even more than they already are? Justice isn't served every single day. Every single day, we hear horror stories about people tied up in lawfare or verdicts being unjust. Now, you get a high-profile case like this claiming espionage and crimes against the corporations. This is a big one. Let's say this plays out, and then another, and then another, and then another. What's to stop Disney from saying, this YouTuber's negative review damaged our box office and we're suing for lost revenue? What stops any corporation from deciding that criticism is sabotage and that having an opinion about their product is a criminal act? Now, I know you're not supposed to do that. There were supposed to be guardrails on this whole thing, but we're not talking about justice being done here. We're not talking about the way it's supposed to be. We're talking about corporations silencing creators because they have the money to do so. Right now, the only thing stopping them is the calculation that the public backlash isn't worth it. But if someone tests it and wins, or even tests it and nobody pushes back, that calculation changes for everyone. And suddenly every content creator on this platform has to ask themselves before they hit publish whether this video is worth getting sued over or not. And that is exactly what these kinds of charges are designed to create. Not a courtroom victory, just more creator silence. Criticizing corporations is a majority of what this channel is. I've talked about Disney, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, the entire gaming industry, the entire film industry. I have said on camera many times over that these companies make bad products. They treat their customers poorly and prioritize profit margins over the quality of their work. If the precedent that this CEO is trying to set were to hold, if making a critical video about a bad product can be reframed as sabotage and met with criminal complaints, then that makes me a target. And every creator who has ever given an honest negative review is also a target. Every person on this platform who has ever told their audience, this isn't worth your money, is theoretically now exposed to the same kind of accusation. And I say all that to then say I want to be fair. If real evidence of a coordinated paid campaign to sabotage this game surfaces, then that changes the entire conversation. It's still terrible for content creators, but if legitimate defamation exists, if somebody was genuinely paid to fabricate lies about something along the way, that is a problem, and I would agree that it is. But that's not what we're looking at here, at least not yet. I'd say instead that this is a tantrum with a legal budget, and that makes me very concerned. So what do? What are you supposed to do? Well, we don't stop talking. If a CEO with a failed game and zero evidence can scare creators into silence, then every honest review, every consumer warning, every critical video on this platform becomes a liability instead of a public service. And once we lose that ability, We are not getting it back, my friends. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus. Watch that become some kind of a criminal act. Saying cancel Disney Plus is a criminal act. It would happen in the clown world we live in. What a mess.